So with that, I'll share the screen now, and hopefully you can now see a screen that's got a lot of information on it. Everyone see that okay?
Yep, all there.
Excellent. All right. So the first one here, what I'm going to do is start big in terms of what we can see across Australia, and then dive down, and the good folk from Eurobidala Council have given us the okay to dive into their detailed information. If we've got time, I'm more than happy to do that for any other road managers that are there as well. So to start off, the key information in terms of council's roles as road managers since you've been part of the heavy vehicle law since early 2014 is really about, with the heavy vehicle access, there's two parts to it. There's the part that's covered by the network, where vehicles can go as of right, if they're approved on the network, or if they're approved networks. And then the other ones that are in permit territory. So what we're going to focus on too is that part today, is that part there. So the view you can see there is really the volume of those across the country there. So that I've put these filters on the side here, and take a note of this as I go through. The general beauty of this, of Power BI, for those of you who haven't used it, is if you want to turn on and off certain filters, it's just a matter of left clicking on an individual one. And if you want to have multiple filters, you can just hold the control key and click on those ones there. So going across, not sure how large or not that's coming up on your screens. Can you see the individual numbers, or is it a bit small? Everyone see that?
Yeah, we can see the numbers, yep.
Okay, great. All right. So what this tells us is, and the beauty of this is an individual view at a council level, but overall, over those periods of time since the information started to be entered into the portal, before that was in email territory, there's nearly 77,000 consent requests. So we can see the volume over time, the vehicle type. So whether it's an oversize, overmass, heavy vehicle, performance-based standards, customers, who's the biggest customer across the country. There's the GIS map representation of there with your standard sort of heat map configuration. The darker the colour, the more intense and increased the volumes are. And then what it does, I've got the New South Wales filter on here to localise that, and just the local government association, local government areas. So that filters out the transport for New South Wales roads, so you can sort of dive into what's happening there. And Aidan mentioned to me that we've got some people online from Gunnedah this morning. So over all that time, they were the most requested roads. The gold, silver and bronze were requested in Gunnedah. And as the good folk from Gunnedah will know, that's the heavy vehicle bypass, which went through to avoid the main street of Gunnedah there. So when that gets filtered on over time, I can just turn that on to the most recent quarter, and there's some major roadworks that are going on there that at some time may change that. So you can filter all that on by time there. The next one is this one here. We can dive down into monthly individual ones for this, again at the national level. So what this tells us is last month there were just under 20,000 consents received. And that's like in the front door, how many get completed out. And then any of these ones here, we can filter by individual vehicle type. So that's how many applications came in, how many permits went out. Keep an eye as we're going through on these ones here. Hopefully you can see them legibly enough to see that the biggest amount of heavy vehicle permit requests that get put in are for the oversize and overmass vehicles. That won't surprise you, because they're big and or heavy. And then the next category, because of the growth in these ones, that's the performance-based standards vehicles. So they're the ones that don't fit your standard regulation, mass, dimension, height, length, width, height variables. So when we get down to individual councils, that does vary quite a bit, depending what part of the country that you're in. That all making sense? Here we go. So this one here is the permit duration application. So what this says to us is that individually you can do it by quarter, and this is on your individual reports that I'll get to soon. You can do that by month as well. So when these reports were being built, we got some feedback from councils that wanted both those variables in. So for internal quarterly reporting, that's a feature that you can now use. So if you wanted the individual quarters, you can see how that's tracking by that measure. And these ones here, if you can see my cursor moving there, the big numbers are that when a new application comes in, it generally spends about 1.7 days with us. It'll be before it gets responded to, then it'll be assessed by us. There'll be a little bit of to and fro back with the customer in some instances. And then the biggest amount of time is obviously when that application comes into the portal in your account and needs to get a decision made on that. And under the heavy vehicle law, that can be responded to in either a yes, a no, or a yes with conditions. And then when it comes back to us, there sometimes might be a little bit of to and fro with the customer. Sometimes the customer may have inadvertently applied for a route that they didn't want, or the other way around, or there might be some questions that the council wants to ask of the road manager that'll work that through. And then at the back end, once that's all resolved, it'll be with that volume generally out the door to the customer at the back end within 1.1 days. So some councils said they wanted the quarterly view. Other councils, particularly in country areas, and I remember a discussion that I'm pretty sure was in the group meeting that we had that Gunnedah was in, with some of those country factors to do with harvests and so forth, you might get a variation that you want to break down further. So what that allows you to do is see what that trend is over time there. This big bar chart here, you might be looking at that going, wow, gee, what happened there? Short story is that we changed an internal business rule to close out some cases after 300 days, I'm pretty sure it was, because what was happening is that there were cases that hadn't been responded to, and these numbers that you're seeing here are based on when cases are closed. So if they're not closed and they've been on the books dormant for a very, very long time, either the load's moved, they didn't need it to move, they changed their mind, they found another way to do it, but when it's closed out. So what we did was close out a whole lot and put a business rule in going forward so that it didn't distort the data. That's what happened with that one there. Now, just bear with me. I'm trying to move to the next tab, but it's covered up. Here we go. So, can you still see that there?
It's very zoomed in.
Okay, yep. There we go. This one.
Yeah.
So this one here is
Tim,
about the, yeah.
Tim, just before you go on, mate, the filters on the right-hand side, the white panel, if everyone's sort of happy with the fact that we can filter through that, the little arrow right on the right, if you click on that, that'll just hide the filters and make it a lot slimmer. Just come up a bit further, up. Come up, just, yeah, that one, click on there. Just makes that screen just, and even on your own computer, just click on that little arrow, show hide pane, click on that, and it just makes it so much bigger. And you can also, in the blue, just to the right of access, do the same thing there, if we don't need to see all that extra, those pages. So where the access icon is on the left-hand top, just next to file, so between access and file, just come up to the right a little bit, and there's a double arrow there. Just click on that one.
Yep.
Just makes it a little bit easier for the Zoom call. If anyone wants any questions about filters or the pages, please sing out.
Yep. Okay, thanks, Michael. Okay. Now, just bear with me while I change these. Okay, the next one. So this one here, what that says is the yes/no rate effectively. So overall, across all of that big volume of permits, there's only 2% of cases that get said no to, and then there's 90% get yes, and then it's about 7.8% get closed. So that might be by the customer. They might find an alternative route, therefore they put a new application in, so they close another one. So that's the carve up of that one there. So, and that's in the two different financial years you can see with those ones there. So generally, most of them get told yes. Next one is a super view that we have created internally at the back end here. And this one, I had a meeting with the people at Berrigan Council the other day. So that one's still preloaded into there. But instead of having to toggle between tabs, if we're having one of those meetings where we're quickly switching between them, you can do what I've done here and set up separate tabs. But with this one here, sometimes we need to look a bit deeper at the back end here. So you can see it's got volume, turnaround time, refusal rate, percentage refusal rate, all on one handy view there. So that's something that we've got. So the next one is where it starts to get interesting for yourselves. Okay, we're back to big screen. Okay, everyone see that?
Yeah, got the view of the portal now, Tim.
Yeah,
and
that's
the
it.
Three options.
Yep. So with this one here, is anyone aware of, well, I can't see your hands. So just some of what we find when we talk to councils is there's not as much awareness of these as we would like. So meetings like this are fantastic for that. So to access these, you just go to the top there, go to access permits, reports, analytics reports at the very bottom, and that brings up those three tiles. Now, this one here is the performance one, so it tells you how long you take to turn them around. So when I look at this, I've got to filter these by individual councils. If I want to go to council level, with your account, you will only see your own information, so you don't need to do that pre-filtering. And then the volume here, the one in the middle was only launched a couple of weeks ago, and I'm told by our people that they're in the process of setting that as a default setting. But when you click on yours, if you only get the performance and the volume, just go into your settings and make that visible, the consent refusals one. So
yeah, just whoever's the administrator account for your council or council group holds that ability within the NHVR portal. But I encourage you, because it's not an easy step, if you can't see those 3 pages, then reach out for Tim. We're also looking at putting a video together, Tim, on those 2 things, so that not everyone remembers everything that happens in those show and tells. So we'll put a help video together.
Yep, that's good. Thanks, Michael. So this one here, what I've done is preload this with the information for Eurobodalla Council there. So this is diving down to that local level, and thanks to Eurobodalla Council for letting us show this to everyone else. So under the heavy vehicle law, there's a legal requirement to respond in 28 days. The lower you can get that, obviously, the better, because the impact of those while the overall refusal rate is quite low, the micro picture of that is that if you're one of the people who needs a movement that takes a long time to get assessed because it's unusual, it might be a big oversized piece of equipment, that is quite expensive. You know, if you had a D10 dozer, I'm told by the people who move that sort of gear that can be like $15,000 a day that is just sitting there. Some of the, I was talking to someone from the Hunter, they were taking a slew bearing across to northwest Western Australia, and every day that mine wasn't operating because it needed this piece of equipment was costing $750,000 a day. So so any turnaround of time that can be reduced as much as possible is fantastic, and that's a really impressive report card there for the people at Eurobodalla Council. So across all of those movements, they're 4.5 days. So that's quite good there. The next one is when you go into the refusal tab. This one here, this is just a graphic representation of that. so that's the middle tab there. So that's just in the current financial year. So the refusal with that one there, there's been four out of the 5 that got told no were PBS vehicles. You can see these views by the date that it happened. You've got the trend line there. And it also captures in here the reason for the refusal. So you can see those individual ones there. There's and then there's the customer as well. So sometimes where that's handy is helpful for if you as a council are going, well, who is the operator, the transport operator who's applying for most of these ones that I end up having to say no to, or who's the operator that applies for most of these that I say yes to, but I'd like to talk to them more about their movements and how frequent they are, because what we're aware of is when you get an application in, you don't know whether that's 1 truck per week or whether it's 20 trucks a week. And obviously those things can have a big difference in terms of your answer there. So you can quickly identify the customer that has the biggest volume there and have a discussion with them from a pretty informed position. This one here is a really handy view. What it allows you to do is see the reasoning where there is a statement with refusal notes. They'll come up on here. I've filtered these ones here. The ones for Eurobodalla don't seem to be on the system. Maybe there weren't any specific notes put there, but I was doing a similar meeting to this with Penrith City Council a few weeks back, and the beauty of it was you could see whatever notes were written in the response. Instead of having to go into the individual cases to find them, this is where they'll be. So you've got access to the tabs that I'm showing you now. You can see all of that information. And the beauty of it is you can see the roads that are refused most. So what that can be helpful for is with bids for infrastructure that you might want to put forward under Commonwealth and state funding programs. For those of you in the country areas, fixing country roads is a great program that I know we've worked with some of the councils online today to assist their applications for that from the heavy vehicle perspective. But what you can say with these ones here, it just brings the story to life for your local road. So you can see that one there at Beach Road at Batehaven, for instance, that single road is responsible for 13.3% of the refusals. So for us, this information is about the start of a discussion, and if there's some infrastructure improvements that need to be done there that you want to apply for, you can feed that into the program. That all making sense? Okay, so again for Eurobodalla, with this one here, this is the overall picture for Eurobodalla Council. And for the people from Eurobodalla who are there, I'd be curious to know, are there any particular angles on this that you want to explore? For instance, the volume that you've got there, as you can see, it jumps around quite a bit. There was a big volume of applications last year. These ones here, you can see that nearly 55% of the permit requests in your council area are for oversize and overmass. The next one is quite a sizable chunk for performance-based standards vehicles. And I know from talking to Warren at the council there and some of the operators in your part of the world that there's definitely big growth. I recall that like that number's one of the highest ones in terms of growth. Because of the freight task that you've got there, operators are taking up some of those newer, innovative vehicles, which are more productive and also more safe. And then with the customers that you've got here, there's an earthworks company that constitutes the largest proportion by far of those movements. But and then you've got the roads. Beach Road comes up there again, and then you've got the map that we can pull out there. But is there any particular angle? There's lots of different refinements I could show you, but is there any element of there that's got the people from Eurobodalla curious to want to have another look?
Hi, Tim. How you going? I'm here representing Eurobodalla, our traffic coordinators in another meeting. But yeah, basically, I guess some of those roads where we are having those high percentages, maybe having a closer look at those roads and the and where they're all happening. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. All right. So how about I just click on Beach Road? Okay, just bear with me. It did this the other day. I'll have to refresh. Okay, just bear with me while I load up. Sometimes because I'm on the home internet, it just needs to go into a different view, but we can sort that out quick. So I'll just go down here, road manager name. Again, this is the filtering that I need to do because my view covers all the road managers, but you won't need to do when it gets to yours.
So just while Tim's doing that, it's important to note, I don't know how many people have used Power BI in the past. It's a bit of a daunting product when you first start using it, but there is just insane amount of data in it. It is part of the Microsoft suite, so like Word and Excel. And each little tab area, for instance, the map is what's called a tile. That can actually be expanded. And you can click on different parts of the report and the other parts of the area will be impacted and your cards up the top, the counts will change. So it's quite intuitive. And also, not only can you click on individual areas, you can also sort rows. So for instance, if you wanted to sort roads into alphabetical order, very much like Excel, you can click at the top and sort it in ascending or descending. If the map's not big enough, for instance, when you hover over the map, just like what Tim's done there, you'll see there's three little dots. Just to the left of that's a bit of a square, and then a filter. If Tim was to click on the square, that would focus just on the square there, mate, just top right-hand corner.
Oh, yep.
That's it,
To
click
expand
on
the map.
that.
Yep.
That will give that map in a greater focus. There's also a cool tool in here called the lasso, which bottom left-hand corner, you can see the little lasso. Now, if you just wanted to look at one area, Tim would click with his mouse and literally draw a circle around the road segment he was interested in. And once he connects that lasso back to itself, then the rest of the reporting will just focus on what we call that lassoed area. Now, if you go up the top left, it says back to report there, Tim. There's lots and lots of functionality in this. We're more than happy to help you in the learning. And we find group environments, even within the NHVR, because Microsoft are basically bring this product out every fortnight. There's a new release and new functionality. So it's only a couple of years old, but it can be a very good tool when hooked up with good data and great maps.
Thanks,
Back to
Michael.
you, Tim.
Yep. Thanks for that. So with this one here, so that's just got Beach Road there. So what you would have noticed is that for those operators that applied for those there, the operator that was the most frequent one before is now the second most frequent. And then the carve up of those ones there for that particular road, it's about the same proportions as before. So you've got 53.5% for oversized and over mass, just still on 30 for performance-based standards. But what's interesting, and again with the navigation, as we said before, it's just if you wanted to do multiple variables, just hit the control key, hold the control key and left click on that. So this will bring up just that road for just this year. So what you'll see there is quite a big difference in the change. So sometimes it's handy looking at this information over time, but sometimes that's so far in the rear view mirror that if you want to keep up to date with, look, what are the trends now? Is the customer that I'd like to talk to, is the one who's applying the most now the same one that was there before? It's just so you don't contact them and they go, oh, well, I was doing a fair bit of work there 2 years ago, but I'm not doing so much work there now. So with these ones, so is there anything of interest for the people from Eurobodalla that brings up?
Yeah, I think what we've noticed, there was a lot of construction going on with the Bateman's Bay Bridge, where they were doing little components where they're going around our CBD and stuff. But most
Yep.
of their route was approved, obviously, by Transport for New South Wales. But then we were approving these smaller sections,
Okay.
and that's probably what this is highlighting. A lot of those earthworks and crane operators servicing those main construction projects.
Yes. No, look, that makes sense. And what you can do here as well, you'll see that we've got the filters in there. So if you wanted to see, look, the approved network there for, let's just try B doubles, for instance. So
yeah, the other interesting thing, that's Bateman's Bay is pretty much the limit for 26-metre B doubles where they can get to on the highway. So
Yep.
they have to couple or decouple before Bateman's Bay.
Okay. How about we go?
Restriction point. Yeah.
Oh, we go PBS level 1. Like the whole area there is PBS level 1 because they're now general access. But I'll go PBS level 2, which is the in terms of that terminology there. Just to colour that story in there, essentially, PBS level 1 cuts out at 20 metres. So they're the truck and dog trailer combinations, quite common in moving bulk product earthworks, like you saw from the customers there. Sometimes the grain industry, those ones there. And then level 2A is from generally, there's a minor variations with some of the combinations, but like 95, 99% of them would be in the 20 to 26 metre threshold. So these ones here would be configured with a drawbar rather than a turntable like a B double, but potentially up to the size of the B double, and then your bigger ones there, the 26 to 30s. So those that's a probably like you said from Eurobodella there, that's not around the area that's most in demand because of the bridge. But as those infrastructure improvements come and go, so if we go out a bit further there and we put that filter on, looks like we're still not in the filter territory there. Okay, but with the area one we are. So you can play around with all those ones there. So the key advantage of that, of course, is so that you can see where the roads that you're dealing with a lot, if they do connect closely to an approved network, then the best long-term thing to do is whenever possible and is to add them to the network. So you can look at this and go, what is the greatest change that I can make to reduce the permit burden that's coming in the front door at council? And this gives you that kind of view there. And the only other thing that I was just going to show you as well, that is the next one across from that, is with the permits. This one here, again, I've got that on Eurobodella there, so we can sort of unpack that whole story, is that view, which is on the volume, just on the permits tab. What that does is give you the average length, width, height, and mass for all the permits that you've approved, which again, you can filter by year, and then the maximum. So if you're looking to do an infrastructure upgrade, it seems like the biggest permitted mass on a permit over all those financial years was 170 tonne. So yeah, 170, and then there's a custom, actually 192 on a custom oversized one there. So if you just click on that, sorry, it's going to do that reset thing again. But that's the view that you can get. To save setting all that up again, I'll just go back to this one. So with the permits, there we go. So that's pretty handy information if you're looking at what would be a good standard to do the infrastructure upgrade to accommodate most. There's this table, and then the one underneath it is with the maximum there. So as to how that's gone, and you can, like we'd said before, you can filter that by year, so you can see over time. That's the last complete financial year, and as it turns out, that was the year that the custom move happened there. So that could possibly have been to do with the bridge. Would it have been a bridge beam, maybe?
Very possibly, yeah. The bridge components, I imagine. I wasn't involved with the actual approval process there, but yeah, I imagine that might have been it.
Okay, So I might just stop sharing the screen there so I can dive back into it if anyone particularly wants to. But how have people found that information? Did you know it was there? Have you used it? Have you got any ideas on things that could be done better, differently to improve that? Any questions? I've got a lot of muted microphones, so I'm not sure if someone's trying to say anything.
I actually hadn't realised all these features were there, so I'm going to have a chat with our traffic coordinator, basically, because I do a lot of the grant applications and things like that, so we can use this information for that purpose. I think that'd be very useful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, because I know from talking to Warren that after the fires and the floods that you guys had down there, that there'd been a lot of infrastructure improvements that you've put in place in recent times.
It's certainly correct. And one of the big features that we've got at the moment, like I mentioned before, is basically the restriction for the 26 metre B double. Once they've done the Bay Bridge, we'll now have access through Bateman's Bay. Now we have to configure how that's going to impact on our overall network. And so it's going to be big changes for us, certainly.
Yeah, for sure. Does anyone, I think, how much time we got left, Aidan? About 10 minutes?
Yep.
So if anyone wanted me to have a look at their individual council things, you can do it yourself now. You know how. And I just saw a comment come up that someone didn't know that they were there before, so I'm glad to let you know that it's there. It's kind of surprising that it's one of the best things that you don't know can help you do your job. But if anyone wanted me to get their council figures up, I can have a go at that. Are the reports visible to read-only accounts? I'll throw to Michael from our area.
If the administrator of the account holder, so usually it's someone at the council or group, who has the administrator rights to your council or road, we call it road manager name in the data set, they can grant you that as permissions. So you can't self-grant permissions to see all three, but they can go into the settings field and add all the users that are under their admin rights or administrator under our portal wording for the word administrator. But again, we're keen to understand who's having challenges getting to this. I didn't realise until the stakeholder engagement crew or Tim was sharing this with the councils, and then how much use it's had. We see them as three groups of reports. We have lots and lots of ad hoc questions from people and councils to say, we've got this emergency, what impact? We've got this infrastructure down, what impact? We've got this project we'd like to do, what impact? Or, just to understand how they can reduce the number of applications coming through so that people don't have to spend their whole time on the portal looking at our applications, so they can get on with their own job. So we think those four areas are areas of value, and we hope we can add value to each and every one of you out there if you want that value. So we're willing to change, upgrade, and customize these type of reporting, because we're seeing the usage has skyrocketed in the last 6-7 months when people become aware of it.
Thanks, Michael. Yep.
And also there is intercom too on the portal, which is a lovely little chat feature on the NHVR portal. So please ask any questions there. If you find any stumbling blocks with communications with the NHVR, then please go straight to Tim, because I'd hate to hear anyone just get left behind by a very growing NHVR.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, look, always happy to talk. It's good to see when I went through with Aidan the councils that were going to be in on the meeting today. Some of you I've met before, so seeing I can't see you for real, it's good to connect with you again, and those of you who've joined in for the first time and weren't aware of that, Aidan has my contact details. If you don't have them direct, please contact me. I'm like a pivot between yourselves and the transport industry and our specialists here at the NHVR, people like Michael on the data side. And so much of the really good things that you've just seen have come from ideas from people just like yourself to get those ones there. So, for instance, out of the meeting I had with Penrith the other week, they found that one of their highest permitted roads that if they didn't need to permit would and get the volume of coming in the front door was the reason for that was because it was a road that they owned but over a part of the Sydney rail network. And so they're now in the process of putting a pre-approval in place for that. So forgive me if I'm saying something to those of you who already know what it is, but if you think of the heavy vehicle approval process like a continuum, at one end, you've got a super big load like might be going up to the Hunter where it'll be one trip, one permit. And then at the other end, you've got the approved network where there's multiple movements happening every day because you know the infrastructure's up to it and you've said that it was okay to add to the network. And then in between the pre-approval, what that means is the customer still needs to apply, but you don't get the application. So your inbox in the portal doesn't get bombarded with a whole lot of things that you're going to say yes to. So that creates business certainty for industry because they know when they're going to apply that they'll get yes because you said yes in advance. And any of those measures that I've mentioned, you can add conditions if you want. So what we're looking to do in that one that I hadn't heard be done before, but with the Penrith one, they're looking to put a pre-approval in place with a condition, possibly even add it to the network with a condition for that network access that they need to go to Sydney trains because that's a given with some of those ones on the Sydney Metro network there. But any other questions?
Yeah, Vikram had one. I don't know if he wants to unmute himself. He put it in the chat box too. You want to?
Okay. Yep.
See how he goes.
Yep. I can see your question there, Vikram.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Vikram, and I'm engineering coordinator for Kuban Council. In fact, I've been struggling in this one particularly. We have got a couple of routes. It's a regional council, and we have got a couple of routes which are not a good one. It's more of a gravel roads, and these are all slip roads. So what happens that A double or B double or something like that, they try to come out on this one particularly to reach up to one of the train station, which is at Melindra. And every time I've been refusing on this small dogleg kind of a scene, and I've been every time letting them know that you need to follow, the main approved roads, not the slip road, which is a gravel road. And many a times I've been refused, even by NHVR as well. They have refused my refusal too. And then again, I have to reapply for the re-inform them that no, well, mate, this is refused because of these reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that instance, if I read you right, Vikram, you're saying that there's a preferred way that you would have for the vehicles to get to Manildra.
That's right.
But they keep applying for the road that you don't want them to go on.
That's right.
Yep.
And
okay.
Even after putting my refusal and along with the substantive explanation, still it gets my refusal gets refused by NHVR.
Okay, I can do one of two. I can do two things for that one there. If you contact me with those details, and I'll have a look at that because there may be something that we can do, such as if you pre-approved the road where you want them to go, they're progressively being put on our mapping system. So when someone goes to apply there, what we found, I take it that's you've got a lot more traffic with the grain harvest the way it was last year and looking like a big harvest this year too.
That's right.
Yeah. So what we found was in that instance, there were lots of operators because of the size of the crop, lots of operators were going places they hadn't been before. So they did what everyone else in the world does and just puts Google Maps and says, okay, look, can I go there? But that might be fine for a Toyota Camry, but not so good for an A-double. So if you contact me with those details, I'll see if I can work through that individually. The other thing that you and anyone else who's on today might be interested in is the next one of these. So same time next week, Phil will be talking about our new mapping system, which is being built, the Way to Go mapping system. So we're going to be shifting across to that platform, and that will have a lot of capability over time, a little bit at the start, but growing over time. So those very instances, you'll be able to put notations on there yourself. It uses the OpenStreetMaps technology, for those of you who are familiar with that. So we're quite excited about that shift that's coming. So if you have time next Tuesday, tune into that one as well, and Phil will fill you in on that. But as far as that individual case, send the details to me, just tim.hansen@nhvr.gov.au. Or give me a call, 0419 729 399, and happy for any of you to contact me.
Please repeat again, 0419.
0419.
Yeah.
I think it goes up in an email as well if you want. I can.
Oh, that'd be great. Thanks, Aidan. Yeah, that way you've got it all there. Yep.
Guys, also, Aidan, if we can add to that, we've got a heavy vehicle reporting line which goes through to our intelligence and then all the on-road staff and police that are pulling over these trucks. We're always keen to know about those particular networks that are frustrating you, where we've got traffic where we shouldn't be having traffic. So Tim, can you also make sure that email has that heavy vehicle reporting line number on it?
Yeah,
the
I'll send that
1-800 number?
through. Yep, I'll send that through to you, Aidan. So if there's any instances that people encounter trucks where they shouldn't be, that's a good way to let people know. Yeah. So all right. I know we're up against the time. I'm happy to stay and answer questions if people wanted to hang around, but if people need to go, that's fine too. Now that we've made contact, you can get in touch with me.